Wrong password? Try again. Those 4 words will either send your customers grumbling to reset their credentials or cause them to abandon their session for good. Consumer giants like Best Buy and Amazon are solving this problem by eliminating passwords and giving their customers the easiest, most secure way to sign in and shop through passkeys. And Passage by 1Password makes it easy to deliver the same experience. Increase conversions and drive revenue by quickly implementing passkeys in your existing authentication flows with Passage by 1Password. Passkeys not only reduce the frustration passwords inflict on users, ensuring they continue to progress through their buying journey, but they also help you save your organization time and money by reducing support costs and the need for expensive SMS-based MFA. With Passage, you can confidently introduce an industry-leading passage key experience that just works with a few lines of code. Our dedicated security experts handle passkey updates and ongoing maintenance, allowing you to focus on your core app, knowing users will enjoy a secure and frictionless login experience across all their devices. Check out Passage to learn more and talk with their team. Hello and welcome back to our second episode of InnovateHER, where we talk to women in product. Today we are joined by Ronke Majekodunmi, who is a strategic and user-centric director of product management with over 10 years of experience in SaaS product development. Throughout her career, she has been involved in all stages of the software development lifestyle, from defining product vision and roadmap to formatting go-to-market strategies. Ronke is known for her expertise in standardizing user-centric design processes and leveraging qualitative and quantitative research methodologies. Hello and welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hi, I'm great, Rebecca. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Good, good. It is very rainy here. So you're in California, right?
Yes,
Oh,
I'm in San Jose, California, but
um,
you're in London, correct?
Scotland, actually, Edinburgh.
Scotland. Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay, I haven't visited Scotland yet, but London is one
Yeah,
of my favorite cities. Scotland is on my wish list, so
yeah.
I definitely will let you know when I come visit.
Yeah, amazing. Super rainy, but beautiful, lovely and historic. All right, well, let's get started. Can you share your journey about how you entered the product management field and what inspired you to pursue a career in this sphere?
Sure. Okay, so my trajectory into product management is sort of weird. Um, I started out as a technical support rep. I was supporting the product that I ultimately became a product manager on. So I was literally taking calls from customers, helping them solve problems that they had with trying to get it to print. With calling, it was a bankruptcy filing application, with calling bankruptcy courts, with you name it. I was literally like clearing out temp files and back it was a desktop application back then. I started out just being a tech support rep for it, and then the development team would come to me to ask, um, hey, Ronki, what do from your point of view, what is the top 10 problems, and can you rank it for us? And I would prioritize it for them, and I would even show them workarounds. The engineers used to come into my cubicle, and I would show them how this error message literally happens and what I do to get around it. And then there was a position open for sort of a junior role on the team, and all the engineering team recommended me for it. Um, so I ended up in that role, working with an actual product manager on it. And then I learned a ton from her. She ended up leaving, and then I ended up taking over her role, and I've been a product manager ever since. But it's starting there basically. I sort of my trajectory came from technical support. By the way, that's why till today, aspiring product managers, I always tell them your first day on the job, the first person you want to go buy coffee for is your tech support lead, because they know everything. Just like they know everything. They're the eyes and ears of the organization. And that's what I've started out in product. What has kept me in product, honestly, is I've had an awesome career. I've had a chance to work in fintech for most of my career. I've had a chance to work outside of fintech as well. I've had a chance to build B2B platforms, B2C platforms, and B2D platforms. And I'm just thrilled to have that experience. That's what's kept me there is just having the ability to, and even just the opportunity to work on different things and learn different spaces. And that's another reason why I did my MBA in marketing, because I sort of wanted to more or less move into that product marketing, understand that product marketing space as well, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, and still till now, my favorite thing about product is research right now, where you get a certain, a customer, you'll hear, oh, this is the customer pain point, and then when you really dig deep and do research, you realize it's come something completely different. um yeah, so that's sort of my favorite space right now, that research, because I've had a chance to kind of do everything. So now research is kind of
Mhm.
like, okay, how do you get people to open up, and tell you things that they're doing that they're not really telling you they're doing, but they're doing,
Mhm.
right? Exactly. So that
Yeah.
psychological aspect of it right now, that behavioral science aspect of it right now, it's sort of what's intriguing me about product management.
Yeah, you really need to be a people person on top of like invested in your product.
Yeah, and like, I mean, if you think about it, what people say and do are two different things, right? People will tell you, well, this is what I do to get my job done. But when you really sit with them and visit their office, then you realize, oh wait, they use DocuSign at this point in the process, or oh, they take a screenshot, a scanned paper, and then they send it to a customer during this part of the process, or they make a phone call to confirm something. It just absolutely intrigues me. So I always tell PMs, it's not just the process, it's the in between, right? You want to know in between. So you want to be, what is the Steve Jobs saying? You want to be so close to your clients that you know what they need before they even tell you what they need. So anyway, so
That sounds like great advice for any product manager.
exactly
But
the question. Oh
oh,
no,
go
no,
ahead.
yeah. I was just gonna say the question is getting there, understanding that whole process. Anyway,
Mm.
so
Yeah. So, what unique perspectives or experiences do you believe that women in product management bring to the role, and how they contribute to innovation and success in the industry?
so um I've been lucky in my career that I've had male allies, a lot of male allies. I've also had a lot of women allies. I've had women sponsors. I've had women mentors. I've had 4 women that have mentored me throughout my whole entire career, by the way. Um, it's, I think women communicate better. So, what do I mean by that? Women, I think, have they balance intelligence with humility, right? They And because of that, I think they can communicate better, they can be persuasive, they can be effective leaders, right? They sort of know how to check their ego at the door, right? And just kind of go, okay, roll up their sleeves and say, okay, let's figure this out together. Plus I think empathy comes easier for women. And I think the world has changed. The world has
Mhm.
changed so much since the pandemic that you have to lead with empathy now, because if you don't, I mean, studies show that if your employees don't, or your direct reports don't feel like you care about them, they won't really be invested, right? So you sort of have to go with the human approach now, right? In leading, meaning empathy comes first, meaning being persuasive matters, mean, um, humility matters, right? Rolling up your sleeves and saying, I can't do this alone. I want to do this with you. Let's figure our way out of this problem that we have. I think women sort of do those things better in spades. I'll give you an example. Um, one of the organizations, there was an organization I worked at, and it was my first week in the job. And one of the engineers had a family member that passed away, and that engineer wasn't at work. So I was asking him, during the planning meeting, I'm like, oh, what happened to so and so? And the tech lead was like, oh, a family member died. Um, he's out. He's out right now. 'Cause so we have time. He's out right now. Taking care of to be there for his family and to go to the funeral and all this other stuff. And then I asked a question. I said, "What is the company doing for him?" And he was stumped. Like he as a tech lead, he hadn't thought about it, right? And mind you, this is not even my direct report, right? And he was just like, "Oh yeah, I don't know." And I'm thinking to myself, maybe we should set, So I said to him, I go, maybe we should send some flowers. Do you want me to take the lead on this? We should send something, you know. Uh, and I'll never forget. By the way, this is sort of condescending, but he says to me, he goes, "See, this is the great thing about having women on the team. Women think about everything." It's you know what I mean? It's very condescending, but again, it proves my point, right? That humility and empathy, right? Like I'm like, you're his boss. You should literally be the one doing this, right? He's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, I have to go talk to somebody. I didn't know we should send flowers, and I'm just sitting there going, wow, okay. It's just,
Never even
so
occurs to some people.
exactly. And this, by the way, literally just happened about a year ago. I
Mhm.
was just sitting there going, wait, I'm sorry, 2 years ago, I'm going, wait, what? So in this day and age, I'm like, I have to remind you, I have to bring this to your attention that you should send flowers to your direct reports whose family member just passed away. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting. Again, women just, there's just that caring thing that we have that,
Mhm.
hey, I'll take care of you, anyway, I think that's what we do best.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see that perspective that females can bring that maybe some people just totally miss. What
Yeah.
challenges?
By the way, my favorite part of that whole thing, of that whole entire exchange, rather, was sort of the condescending thing, like, oh yeah, like, oh, this is why it's great to have women on the team. And I'm like, okay.
Uh,
Just anyway.
what challenges do you think you face, or women in general face, being in product?
Mhm. Um, oh God. Where do I begin? Diversity is one of them. Diversity, neurodiversity. What do I mean by diversity? Um, I cannot tell you how many organizations I've worked where I've been the only person of color, sometimes the only woman of color in the room. It changes the dynamics of things. It changes whether or not I feel like I belong, right? And these are just some of the, from my experience, right? There are some organizations that I don't feel like I belong, you know. Mostly there's a lot of reason there, because number one, I don't see people who look like me there, right? Whether at a director level, or at a senior director level, or C level, or even at a junior level, right? um Another thing I think is promotion. Like, there's no successive path for us, right? That's the other thing. I sort of feel like we're not being set up for success, right? So that's the other thing too, right? It's one thing for you to bring me into your organization, right? As a, regardless of whatever role, whether it's senior PM role, lead role, or director role, but what is my path to success? Right? That's the other thing. Like, successive planning, mentoring, right? Not just mentoring. I think it should be, I think in an ideal world, what I'd love to see is someone like me mentoring junior PMs that are coming into the organization, right? And at the same time, me having my own sponsors and allies in that organization, right? Because then what that does is it sort of fosters this chain react, this chain, and this I can't talk today. Reverberation. It reverbs, right, around the whole entire organization. What do I mean by that? Is that if you're a junior PM and you see someone that looks like me, and you look like me, then you're gonna want to stay there, right? Because you see someone like me, and you're gonna want someone like me to mentor you, right? Right. So
Mhm.
you kind of see a future for yourself there. For someone like me at a director level, well, what is my path to staying here? You know what I mean? So then, is there a successive planning for set up that someone like me can move up from a VP role to a senior VP role, eventually to a chief product officer role? Oh, and here's what would be cool is there someone that looks like me in the chief product officer role, right? Some of the things, some of the, I think those are just some of the things that I think will help to um, help get rid of some of the challenges that we women face anyway. The other thing is inverse mentoring. When I say inverse mentoring, I'm talking about someone from a marginalized community mentoring me instead of me mentoring them, right? But not just me though, but everybody else, regardless of race, right? Because then what you're doing is you're bringing everybody into the world of those junior PMs and where their circumstances are, right? Because what you want in a functioning organization, right, is if you build domestically or globally, your customers should look like your employees should look like your customers, right? So what that means is that in order to have that, you have to foster that kind of an environment in your organization that wants to promote people, that has inverse mentoring so that you can understand my circumstance, my lived experiences, right? And help me, get more people that look like me in your organization. And on and on. Imposter syndrome plays a part in that too, right? Because um, we women suffer from imposter syndrome. We don't think we're good enough sometimes, and sometimes we need people to kind of push us along, and that's where that successive planning comes in, right? It's because you hear that adage, right? That women don't apply for positions because they're not 100%. They don't feel they're 100% fit for it, whereas men will apply for it even if they're only 80% fit for it, right? So successive planning helps in that, right? Because it helps to kind of chip away that imposter syndrome, so that because you're planning for this, um, you know, um, making sure that we have allies and mentors, people who, from the moment that we come to that organization, having someone who's just sort of there to kind of guide us in that career path is another one. Is I just one of the things in a way that I think would help. So,
Mm. Are there any specific projects or initiatives that you've started that you're really proud of?
so um, outside of work, or okay,
Yeah, in your personal
so
life
okay, all right. I
or
just wanted to make sure. I'm really proud of RonkePM.com. RonkePM.com is my baby. And we are going to be 3 years old now since
oh,
I've had RonkePM.com. In that time, I've written so many blogs, um, 15 counting, I think.
wow.
um, and they've been, we've gotten some of them published on mindtheproduct.com, Product Alliance, obviously, and Women in Product partnering, built-in network is another one, but appearing on other people's podcasts such as yours, obviously, and having my own podcast. And the reason why I honestly wanted RockyPM.com was because there are a lot of people in product that look like me, right? There aren't a lot of women in product that look like me. And I wanted to be able to tell stories from my perspective,
Mhm.
stories of what my everyday is, what my experience is as a woman of color product manager, because I just don't see it anywhere, right? Like the story I just told you, for instance, about just by the way, that was just the tip of the iceberg, regarding some of my experiences. But that was just the thing, is I wanted to be able to tell the story from my lens, from the way I see it, and the importance of having diverse people who look like me in product management, because that's the only way we're going to make sure we're building for every single community. And so that's the one thing I'm really, really proud of, is that it's just done. RonkePM.com continues to do really well, and I continue to tell stories. And I'm only also, by the way, able to do that because of people like you, by the way, Rebecca, and your community with Product Alliance. You guys have just been so awesome to me from day one. So yeah, so I'd probably say that right now, and
Well,
continuing to do that.
glad we
You
can
know,
help in any
oh,
way.
I'm super grateful. Last year, I was able to go to New York and speak at two of your conferences. I mean, I just, again, another thing I get to check off my list I hadn't even planned. So thank you
Mhm.
guys for that. So anyway, but yeah, Bronchi PM.
Amazing. Yeah, check it out. Anyone watching or listening to this podcast, what advice would you give to women who are entering product?
Don't give up. Please don't give up. It is easy to want to give up when you're gonna have bad days. You're gonna have days where you're gonna have two, three interviews, and the one you really, really want, the one job you're like, oh my God, this is it. I really, really want this. They want me. And you get that disappointing email or letter that's saying we've decided to do something else. And you just want to give up because you've had multiple interviews, you've been studying for them. And my advice to you is pause, take a breather, um, go eat your feelings, chocolate cake, drink wine, whatever the case might be, and go back to it the next day. We
Mhm.
need women in product. We need more women leaders in product in C suites. Um, it is just so important. We need more women because women are going to redefine the future. So you cannot give up. It is hard. As I sit here today talking to you, Rebecca, I was laid off December 7th. As of today, I've applied to 643 jobs and
Wow.
I've only gotten 10 interviews. And of that 10 interviews, eight has not worked out. So I have to keep going. The
Mhm.
job market is hard right now, and that's just someone like me, and I have had over 10 years experience in product management, right? And as I sit here today, almost 4 months later, 600 over 600 job applications that I've completed. So don't give up. I'm not giving up. Um, don't give up. Just continue. Um, just remember that the right job, the right place, the right opportunity will come along. And the only thing I ask is pass it on. Pass on whatever gifts you have. Pass it on to the next person coming after you who's trying to get into product because we need a lot of women in product.
It's amazing. I love that tenacity, like that spirit just to keep going.
We have to keep
Um,
going.
how I know we talked a bit about how like the systems include or don't necessarily include a lot of inclusivity. How do you personally strive to include inclusivity in your product management?
Oh, so first of all, if you go to ronkepm.com, you'll notice nothing but diversity, right? I walk the walk and talk the talk. In my other life as a product leader, um, I put a lot of emphasis on diversity. I try to get my own leadership to understand that if you're building for everybody, guys and globally, um, for starters, we if you think about the world, for starters, um, there are 8 billion people in the world, and that demographic is just changing every single day. I mean, their needs are changing every single day, but they are a diverse demographic. So the only way you're going to build for them is to have people in your organization that think like them, walk like them, talk like them, right?
Mhm.
And the way to do that is to honestly kind of turn the system upside down, right? So I'll give you an example. Recruiting. Um, don't keep recruiting the same way over and over again because you're never going to get people like me, right? Job descriptions that say I need a master's, you have to have an MBA to be a product manager. You're never going to get people like me from marginalized communities because probably they only had a bachelor's degree, right?
Mhm.
Um, that's just one. My personal favorite is then those interview questions. So then you get someone like me in the door, and I have a bachelor's degree, and then there's those interview questions, and people would tell me, "Oh well, but do you really need to ask me how many golf balls are in a 747? What if I've never been on a plane before?
Mhm.
What if no one in my community has ever been on a plane before, or someone in my family's never been on a plane before, because financially we just couldn't afford it? What if I've never played golf before and I've never held a golf ball, right? So how do you, um, I think Marty Kagan says it best, right? Which is that you don't need a bachelor's degree to become a product manager. You don't need to have a computer science degree to be a product manager because you're serving a business function there. So how do we set ourselves up for success? that we have people who look like us in every part of the organization, that we would in all our cross-functional teams, that we were building for everybody. That's what I strive for. Another example I'm going to give you is, there was an organization I worked at. I wrote a blog titled, "If you don't see me, how can you build for me?" Right? And
Mhm.
I offered 5 case studies just from my own experience. Of one of them being, I told one of my leaders that I didn't feel like I belong in the organization, and he had asked me why. And I asked him, I said, "Do you see anybody that looks like me?" He goes, "There are a lot of people of color." I said, "No, no, no, no." I said, "Do you see anybody that looks like me, African American, woman or man in leadership?" He's like, "Yeah, we don't have any here." I said, "Then there you go. I rest my case." You know, and there's nothing he could do about it, right? Because it was out of his wheelhouse. And that's just one example. So, and that was me on the product side, right? On the design side of the house, there weren't any African American women or men on the design side of the house. And we were building for a global audience, right? So those are the kinds of, and because I kept mentioning these and talking about these, some of my colleagues listened and they changed their hiring criteria so that the recruiters are looking for more diverse candidates. Before I left, thank God, they had hired 2 Black women designers.
Amazing.
Right. Again, building for global market, right? Um, but just imagine, I mean, I don't know, I think about this all the time. Products that I use, is there anybody that looks like me on those teams, right? Is there anybody that looks like me on the design team, on the research team? Is there anybody that has my experience? So those are the kinds of things that I try to bring to the forefront so that we can ensure that we're building for everybody.
Oh, that's fantastic. Speaking of like products you use in your life or just having that work life balance, are there any strategies that you incorporate to create that balance for yourself?
Um, okay, so so for those of you who don't know, please Google Orange Theory. I go to Orange Theory 7 days a week.
Wow.
So that's sort of my yeah. So that's sort of my um that's my must. It doesn't matter what I'm
Yeah.
doing. I have to, if it means I gotta leave what I'm doing to take the 5:30 class or the 7 o'clock class, then that's what's gonna happen.
Mhm.
I find that I feel better, for starters.
Mhm.
When I come back, I feel better. I feel tons better. And I'm able to think better. So that's sort of one way I balance my work life. I didn't used to. The reason why this is such a strict rule for me is because, I mean, listen, when I first started, I was a product manager. It was the end all and be all for me. I can't tell you how many days I'd go without eating lunch until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I can't tell you how
Mhm.
many days I'd eat dinner at 10 o'clock at night in front of the television because, and then by the way, even while I'm eating dinner at 10 o'clock at night, I'm actually doing my work for my MBA, right? Because I was studying for my MBA.
Mhm.
And I've just sort of, I've sort of just come to this conclusion that I need to take better care of myself. And so then henceforth, Orange Theory 7 days a week. And also, um, I try to get my girlfriends to do the same thing. And I always remind them, if you drop dead today, if something happens to you today, somebody, they will send flowers to the funeral home, right? But they will post your job and they will hire somebody else.
Mhm.
Life continues. So why kill yourself?
Exactly.
Take take care of yourself, right? And if it's a toxic environment, then find a new job, but take care of yourself because it's just not worth dying. So anyway, that's sort of been my um that's sort of been my well, I want to call it, I don't know if I call it core value right now, but it's sort of been my thing right now is
Yeah, it's a
working
nice
out.
guiding principle.
Exactly. Thank you. Like it's sort of my guiding principle right now is just taking better care of myself. And it took me a long, long time to do that. And there was a lot of times, a lot of years where I didn't do that. I mean, And there were a lot of years where I literally would move doctor's appointment just so that I can make a meeting.
Mm.
And I just stopped doing that because it's just not worth it. And again, that's something that we women do, by the way. We just sort of,
Yeah.
go, oh, an emergency meeting came along. I must go attend it. And we cancel the doctor's appointment. Not worth it at all. So that's another life lesson there,
Yeah. Really
that
got
I've
to take
learned.
care of our
And I've learned to
mental
take better
health and
care of
physical
myself. And yeah,
health.
of course, the other thing, to your question is I love writing. Even if it's only for 15 minutes, I'll write something. I may even throw it out, by the way, and never even use it, but I would
Hmm.
just force myself to write something for 15 minutes, throughout before the end of the day. So
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. How do you see the future of product changing, especially as more women enter the industry?
I think it's going to be great. Um, Not just, I think it's going to be great, especially if we have more Black women and Latina women enter the product space. I think it's going to be awesome. If you think about Gen Alpha, Gen Alpha are the children of millennials, right? Yeah, the children of
Think-
millennials. Yeah. They are going to be the largest, most diverse generation in history, not American history, in history. They're going to be the most diverse. They are the iPad generation. Think about what artificial intelligence would be like with them,
Mhm.
right? Think about what life will be like by the time they turn, 30. Artificial intelligence will be just part of everyday life for them, right? So then you kind of go, okay, well, great. How are we preparing for that? Are there people that look like them that in our organizations building for them? You know, if so, if not, then let's change that. So right now, I mean, if you look at studies show that there aren't a lot of African Americans in AI studies. So are there any groups and communities being left behind, and how do we fix that?
Mm.
But yeah, I'm excited for the future because, um, to give an example, 1945 was when elevators came along, and elevators was the first driving cars, and elevators had operators, right, that will push the buttons. So
Mhm.
they went on strike. So a lot of businesses suffered, right? New York City lost millions of dollars because people couldn't get to their offices. So what did businesses do? Businesses went, were like they went to the elevator companies. Are like, okay, this is ridiculous. You got to do something else. So what did elevators do? They did. Elevator companies made it easy for us to just push buttons, right, and go to
Mhm.
our floors. Um, Self-driving cars, right? Self-driving cars, it will not take a generation. It took a generation for people to feel comfortable with just taking the elevators, and pushing the buttons on
Mhm.
their own. Self-driving cars will not take that long, and I think that Gen Alpha will be the difference of that. So it will be everyday life. A robot they will order food from DoorDash, and a robot would ring the doorbell, and it would be there. There'll be a drone that would deliver your Walmart delivery, and I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the role that women are gonna play, right? I'm
Mhm.
excited as to what would happen when you go to an ultrasound, to hear your baby's heartbeat for the first time, and the role that we women will play in that. Those are the kinds of things I'm excited for.
No, it's crazy because it just feels limitless at this moment. So it's
Oh, it
who knows
is.
where innovation will take
Oh, yeah.
us.
I mean, it is. I'm so excited. Like, one more thing, by the way. I mean, think about commute to work. Your commute to work will change because you can literally work from your car now that's driving itself, right?
Mhm.
So it's going to be awesome. So, yeah.
Could you share any memorable success stories or moments from your career that highlights the impact of women and their leadership or contribution to the product space?
Make friends. I always tell aspiring PMs, make friends. Don't be transactional in your friendship with people because you need to build a network. They're your community, right? And I've been lucky. I've had the most awesome women mentor me, be friends with me, be allies with me, be sponsors with me. And just most recently, um, a woman that literally changed my life a couple of years ago, she helped me just by introducing me to a recruiter that she knew. That recruiter helped me. That recruiter, I was trying to move. I was in Chicago and I was trying to move to San Jose, California because my boyfriend was here and we didn't want to do the long distance thing anymore. And I kept trying to find a job in the Bay Area and I was having trouble because I didn't have a brand name,
Mhm.
employer on my resume. So I wasn't getting a lot of hit. So this person literally, she introduced me to one of her contacts who lives in the Bay Area, and I called her and she started giving me advice. She, without charging me, she was a recruiter herself. She didn't charge me. She was just kind of like, oh, I would do this, I would do this. You need to go to this conference. And that's what I did. I would ask her about how to negotiate an offer and things like that because she knew the Bay Area more than I did. And lo and behold, I got here. I moved. And ever since then, I have brunch with her once a month. She was the most awesome human being. So make friends. You never know who's going to change the trajectory of your life.
Exactly. Yeah. You never know. And sometimes it's hindsight till you realize the impact they've had.
Exactly. And you sit there, you go, wait, if I had met that person, then I wouldn't have met that person. I wouldn't have met that person. Right. So, no, I can't thank this woman enough. Again,
Mm.
and the story of women, right? We just, all she literally did was introduce me an email to her friend, and her friend became my friend. And just so, but anyway, so as the story goes.
That's fantastic. Well, I only have one more question for you. How do you see the role of women evolving in the product management field, and what steps do you think organizations can take to get more women in the product sphere?
Um, we need more women. Um, Plain and simple, really. If you look at the stats of product managers, just in the U.S., women are still a minority. Organizations can do a better job of tying the hiring of women to KPIs of their leaders. So what do I mean by that? For those of you listening, if you get a chance, there's a Business Insider article about Salesforce. Salesforce ties hiring, retaining, and promoting of people from marginalized communities to their employees' KPIs, all the way to the CEO. It's part of his KPI as well. Mark, yeah, I can't pronounce his name. It starts with a B, but it's even part of his KPIs that. But just think about that. Not just hire, retain, right?
Mhm.
So and then promote. So imagine if we did that for women, and we did that in every organization for women, and for women of color, and for Latino women. Imagine how many women we will have in our organization if it's part of everybody's KPIs.
Mhm.
I kind of like the Salesforce model. For those of you listening, I recommend Business Insider. Business Insider has an article about Salesforce, how Salesforce ties hiring, retaining, and promoting of people from marginalized communities to their employees' KPIs, right?
Wow.
Including the CEO. But imagine if you could flip that a little bit and have it be hiring, retaining, promoting of women, minority women in your organization, but tying it to people's KPIs. You would have more women, right?
Mhm.
Imagine if a lot of employers did that. I think we'd have less and less conversations about how there are less women in organizations. So
Yeah, amazing. There's so much opportunity, hopefully, coming towards
mhm.
women, women of color, and marginalized groups. And I'm really excited to see how these communities are going to impact the world because I think they have so much to offer, and we really need to do better.
I agree, and it just starts with changing. I think we need to just change how we hire. I like the Salesforce model because it's part of your KPI. So you will have
Mhm.
to go find candidates, right? Change the way that you find candidates um, to in your organization, and then not only hire them, but then figure out a way to create successive training for them, successive planning for them, right, and promote them. And so it's a win-win for everybody.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation with me today. It was incredibly insightful. I've learned so much from you. Do you have any things you want to plug last minute? Talk about your favorite product, anything? The stage is yours.
Yeah, I don't really have a favorite product nowadays. I just sort of use everything. What I would just say is that, yeah, no, I was thinking maybe my Starbucks app, but no, I mean, I just use that every day. Just visit ronkepm.com. I have blogs, I have podcasts, and of course, other people's podcasts that I've been on. Thank you guys at Prod Led Alliance for being such great partners of mine. I am humbled, so humbled to partner with you all every single time. You guys are just great. Rebecca, it is a pleasure to meet you as well.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, yes, please check out Ronke's website, and we will see you in the next episode of Innovate Her.